In this video, we're going to continue with our example for the Carlisle Coal Company and allocate service department costs using the STEP method. The STEP method first charges costs of service departments to other service departments, then to the end user departments. In our first allocation example, we're going to use the cost in the Information Systems Department, allocate that cost both to the Admin Department as well as the end user departments, the Hilltop Mine, the Pacific Mine. Once we've allocated costs out of the Information Systems Department, we'll allocate the cost of the Admin Department, both direct and indirect cost, to the end user departments, the Hilltop Mine, as well as the Pacific Mine. The first thing we'll do is pick up the direct costs of the Admin Department, the Information Systems Department, the Hilltop Mine, and the Pacific Mine. Next, we'll pick up the computer hours used by the Admin Department. Recall, information systems costs are allocated out on the basis of the number of computer hours used by each of the service departments. The Hilltop Mine, we're told, has 20,000 computer hours, the Pacific Mine 80,000, and the total computer hours used by both admin and the end operating departments is 200,000. We're allocating the cost of admin based on the number of employees. We're only considering the number of employees in the Hilltop Mine and the Pacific Mine because these are the only remaining end user departments. Once we close out information systems, we will no longer allocate costs into information systems. The administrative department uses 100 out of 200,000 total computer hours and will get assigned of 50% of the information systems cost. The Hilltop Mine has 20,000 computer hours out of 200,000, or 10% of the cost, and the Pacific Mine 80,000 out of 200,000 hours, or 40% of the time, and will be allocated 40% of the cost. In terms of number of employees, 5,000 of the 8,000 remaining end user employees are employed by the Hilltop Mine, and the Hilltop Mine will receive 62.5% of the cost in the admin department, and 37.5% of the cost will be assigned to the Pacific Mine. So let's begin by closing out the Information Systems Department. We have 800,000 in direct costs, and we need to transfer that direct cost out. We were told that 50% of that $800,000, or 400,000, we will charge to Admin Department. 20% of the cost, or rather 10% of the cost, or $80,000, will be charged to the Hilltop Mine. And 800,000 times 40%, or 320,000 of the cost, will be charged to the Pacific Mine. Again, we want to make sure our row sums to zero to ensure we've allocated out all the cost and haven't allocated out too much. The next step is we want to allocate the 5,400 or 5.4 million in cost in the admin department, which includes 5 million in direct costs and 400,000 in indirect costs coming in from information systems. We want to allocate that out. And again, we're allocating that out on the basis of number of employees. We've closed out or zeroed out information systems, and we will not allocate costs back into information systems. So 62.5% of the 5.4 million, or $3,375,000, will be allocated to the Hilltop Mine. The remaining 37.5%, or $2,025,000, will be allocated to the Pacific Mine. Again, we make sure the row zeroes out, as well as the bottom columns for our service or support departments to ensure we've allocated out all of the costs. And our final step is we make sure our total cost after cost allocations equals the total cost we were given in the problem. Next, we're going to consider the example where first we close out the admin department. In other words, we allocate costs out of administrative department into the end user departments as well as information systems, then from information systems into the end user departments. Let's begin again by picking up our direct costs of our support or service departments as well as our end user departments. We were told that the cost of the admin department will be allocated on the basis of number of employees. We've got 2,000 employees in the information systems. We've got 5,000 in the Hilltop Mine and 3,000 in the Pacific Mine for a total of 10,000 employees. The Information Systems Department cost will be allocated on the basis of computer hours. We've got 20,000 computer hours at the Hilltop Mine, 80,000 at the Pacific Mine, for a total of 100,000 hours. Recall, once we have closed out the administrative department, we will no longer add costs in. So we do not consider the computer hours used by the admin department in the step method when we close out administration costs first. Let's calculate our allocation percentages. 2,000 out of the 10,000 employees, or 20%, work at Information Systems. 5,000 out of the 10,000, or 50%, at the Hilltop Mine. 3,000 out of 10,000, or 30%, at the Pacific Mine. Those cost allocation percentages will be used to allocate out the $5 million in cost in the admin department. Next, we pick up our allocation percentages for the Information Systems Department. 20,000 out of 100,000 hours, or 20%, will be at the Hilltop Mine, while 80,000 out of 100,000, or 80%, will be allocated to the Pacific Mine. So we're going to allocate out $5 million of direct cost from the admin department. This will be allocated 20% of the $5 million, or $1 million, will be charged to Information Systems. 50% of the $5 million, or $2.5 million, will be allocated to the Hilltop Mine. Then finally, 30% of the $5 million, or $1.5 million, will be allocated to the Pacific Mine. We ensure our row sums to zero, and we ensure our cost column for admin also sums to zero. This ensures we've allocated out all of the cost, and we haven't allocated too much in anywhere else. Next, we're going to allocate costs out of Information Systems. We have a total cost of $1.8 million in Information Systems. That's the $800,000 in direct costs and the $1 million in indirect costs that were allocated in from the administration department. We allocate that out. 20% of it, or $360,000, will get allocated to the Hilltop Mine, while the other 80% will be allocated to the Pacific Mine. Again, we make sure our row sums to zero, and the cost column for Information Systems also sums to zero. That ensures we've allocated out all of the cost. And our final check is to ensure our total cost allocations equal the total cost that we were given in our problem.